There was a man in a white van that was stopping the high school students, asking them for directions, and someone would come out of the car and try to kidnap them. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassie and I'm back at it with Storytime Sunday. Of course, I had to come back with another crazy story, but honestly, this was such a scary experience. As I've mentioned in previous Storytime Sundays, I don't want to do this just out of pure entertainment. I want to be able to provide valuable information for you all. So in this story time, my biggest message I could provide is to please be aware of your surroundings. As children, we are all taught from our parents, do not talk to strangers, but that advice right there is what saved me and my sister from getting kidnapped. So in today's Storytime Sunday, it is about how my sister and I almost got kidnapped by the man in the white van. This story is actually from a long time ago. I was in the 6th grade, my sister was in the 8th grade, but I felt like it was such an important story to bring up right now because there has been so many stories in the news, on social media, about predators, sex trafficking, kidnapping, so much more, and I just felt like it was a relevant topic because this can happen at any age. So as I always start off every story time, I give a little bit of a backstory. Like I mentioned, I was in the 6th grade, my sister was in the 8th grade, so we were still in elementary school. Our elementary school was in a very primary location. Next door on the right was a high school, to the left there was a YMCA, down the hill was a mall, and generally it was in a neighborhood. So pretty much there were people always around our school. So around a week or two before this incident had actually happened, our school was notified from the high school next door that there was a man in a white van that was stopping the high school students, asking them for directions, and someone would come out of the car and try to kidnap them. So I don't know too much. I don't believe there was actually any kidnappings. I think there was only attempted kidnappings, but the students actually got away. So of course, being at elementary school, our school had notified the parents to pick up their children if they could, or for the students that were walking home or taking public transportation to just be a little bit more aware of our surroundings and to walk in groups. Obviously, there wasn't any successful kidnappings. That's not even a great way to phrase it. But because there was attempted kidnappings and we were the school next door, obviously our school thought potentially, we would be next because we were the school over from the high school next door. So I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty freaked out from this news. I was a pretty scared, timid, tense child, and I don't think this news helped out with that at all. And although there wasn't any actual kidnappings just yet, because our school was informed of this, it was a pretty scary time, and I think it just automatically made everyone nervous. So the only reason why I was a little bit more nervous was because I was one of those students that had to actually walk after school. So my mom worked literally down the block from our school. So it was a matter of like less than 5 minutes. I would exit out my school, I'd walk down to the end of the block, go down the hill, and I would enter into my mom's building. So naturally, we didn't think anything would happen to us from the time span of leaving the school and to entering my mom's building. It was like 2 minutes of time, and I always walked with my sister and we were in a very public space. So we never thought if the white van were to come around, we would be one of the victims. But were we wrong? So on this particular day that this all happened, it was a regular school day. My sister and I, we ended school at 2:50 and we left around 3:30ish just because we usually hung out with our friends on campus after school because, we were the older students. I did go to a K through 8 school, so naturally we were just hanging out with our friends after school, and my mom didn't get off of work until 5, so my sister and I pretty much tried to hang out with our friends as long as we could before having to walk to our mom's work and just chill there until she got off. So this was just a regular day, and this was actually like 2 weeks after we were notified about the white van. And in those 2 weeks, nothing actually happened. We didn't hear of any more attempted kidnappings, and no one saw any white van just, mysteriously going around. So our school and the school next door thought that the white van just kind of moved on, and the conversation just started to die out. It never should have, because on this particular day, my sister, we left school. It was around 3:30ish. And like I mentioned, we would exit out of school. We would walk down to the end of the block, probably about a minute of my time. And then we would turn the corner and go down the hill. So in this exact moment, my sister and I just turned the corner at the end of the block and started walking down the hill. We were just talking, we were just walking, and suddenly comes the white van pulling up next to us. But because we were walking down the hill and the oncoming traffic was from behind us, we couldn't see the white van. So we just assumed that it was potentially just like parked, tucked away on, the street or over or whatever, and, it saw these two students and was like, all right, go time. I don't know, but it just so happened that the white van had pulled up to me and my sister. And we weren't thinking really at that time about the white van because some time had passed, but the moment that this white van had slowed down next to us, their window was rolled down and they just started yelling something. I'm guessing they were gonna ask for the directions. That's what we were notified. But my sister and I didn't even stop to think. We just started running for our lives, like sprinting down that hill. So we just ended up sprinting, and the moment we got down the hill, we entered into our mom's building. It probably wasn't the best, idea to go into the building, just because if the white van were to attempt again, they would know potentially where we would be in, or if they really wanted to, they could have just drove down the hill and followed us into the building. But my sister and I, we safely got into the building. It was a healthcare building, so it was a little bit more secured. We got in there, we got into the elevator. Luckily, the elevator was right there. We went up to our mom's floor and we went into her building for her work. At that time, my sister and I decided we weren't going to tell our parents. And we were just young-minded, we were just children, so we naturally were like, okay, let's just, calm down, let's not say anything, because we didn't know if we'd get in trouble or something. We didn't just want to cause a scene, so my sister and I just decided let's not say anything to our parents, which was honestly the wrong choice, because we should have notified our school, just because at that time, our school thought that, there was no other attempted kidnappings. So after that, my sister and I, we were safe. We got into my mom's building. We just went on about our day. But the craziest thing that happened next, after the white van had attempted with me and my sister, decided to drive off, go to its next victim, who just so happened to be my best friend. So my elementary school best friend lived in the neighborhood around our school. So just like what my sister and I were doing, she was doing the same exact thing. After school, she decided to leave and walk home. So she got to the actual street she lived on when the white van pulled up to her. But in this situation, she couldn't go into her house, because if she decided to go up her stairs, run in, lock the doors, the white van could have just parked and attempted to break in. And mind you, she was home alone. So this was not a good idea. So instead, at least she was thinking, mind you, we're in the 6th grade. So she's thinking like, let me run and try to, get away from this white van. So she just started running, going around different blocks, whatever, hiding in corners, until the white van finally lost her. And she ended up going home. She was safe. But what was so crazy was at this time, my best friend and I weren't communicating, so we didn't know that the white van had attempted to kidnap both of us that same exact day until the following day at school. So the next day at school, my best friend and her parents ended up reporting to our school about this whole incident of the white van, and the police had come to our campus. And basically at this time, our school went over like the PA system and notified the students that if anyone came in contact or had any situation or story to provide about the white van, to come forward and come to the office. So my sister and I did that. We went to the office and we told them about what was happening. And at that exact moment, I saw my best friend and her parents talking to the police. So that's how I knew my best friend and I both had the same situation happen to us. So remember, like I mentioned, my sister and I didn't tell our parents, but because we went to the office and told them that this had happened, they had to notify our parents to come because we needed to report to the police. So my parents, being on the phone, were surprised, and this was the first time they were clearly informed that this white van had attempted to kidnap my sister and I. So at this time, we were just waiting. My sister and I were just in the office. My friend had reported to the police. My parents were notified, and my dad had come to campus. And of course, my dad, being my dad, he ended up parking in my principal's parking spot. She had her own parking spot up on top of the hill for her, specifically next to her office, all of that. We weren't a big fan of our principal, but that's honestly besides the fact. So my dad, he parked in her spot. He had come down and we were giving our police report. But at this time, our principal had actually went and ran errands or doing whatever she wanted to do. And it was just crazy because instead of coming back to school and being cautious or nervous or wondering about the safety of her students, she came in all mad and was like, "Whose blue Mustang is parked in my parking spot?" And obviously that's my dad. My dad was like, "Really now? You're so worried about someone parking in your parking spot and you're not worried about why there's police officers talking to your students?" She obviously was in the wrong mind space at that time because she was not worried about the protection and the security of her students when she ran this school, especially when there was a white van and these men attempting to kidnap these students. And you're running a school from K through 8th grade. What happened if we weren't 6th graders? What happened if that was a 1st grader? It doesn't even matter what age we were at. It's the fact that you run the school and you're more worried about someone in your parking spot rather than rushing back to campus and wondering what happened and what you could do to provide more safety for your students. So anyways, besides that, my sister and I ended up giving our police report. My best friend gave her police report, and it's kind of crazy to say, but our school couldn't do much more than that. They ended up closing our school gates during campus hours and school hours, but once school was over, they really couldn't do much. The students were out of their hands, parents were picking up their children, or for the students that had to walk or take public transportation, we still had to do that. So they couldn't do much but tell us to still be aware of our surroundings because clearly this white van was still on the loose. The police obviously never caught this white van because no one ever got a license plate. My first thing that I should have thought of, but again, we were just running in this situation. We weren't looking back to try to write down numbers of this, license plate. So all we could really tell was just what we caught of the white van, how it looked. We didn't actually even see the man and what he looked like. So we didn't have very much of a great description besides telling them what had happened and what we did see of the white van. And all I could really remember that it was a typical white van that you see, and that was all. I don't even remember too much of the details of the white van. I probably had more that I remembered at that time, but it's been so long, so I can't really remember now. But I do remember that we didn't have a great description to tell them. So at the end of the day, the police couldn't do much unless they actually caught this white van in action trying to kidnap these students. But I think that was actually the last attempt of the white van, which is so crazy because at the end of the day, we thought everyone was in the clear. It attempted with the high schoolers, it kind of went MIA, and then it came back. And it just so happened that my sister and I were the ones that the white van tried to kidnap. I am so grateful at the end of the day that my sister and I were not kidnapped. I wouldn't even know how to feel, where I'd be at this day, what things would have looked like after that day if my sister and I were kidnapped. I would be grateful that I was with my sister at least, but in this situation, like I mentioned, just please be aware of your surroundings. These stories coming up right now, especially nowadays, you need to be so much more cautious while walking around, especially if you're alone. because these predators, sex trafficking, kidnapping is happening literally every single day. So if you are going out by yourself, don't go walking across the street with your head down, sucked into social media, looking on your phone. Don't put your music so loud that you can't hear your surroundings. Be cautious, be aware, look around, because you don't want to be that next person that is attempted to be kidnapped. We can't prevent this situation from happening. It's going to happen whether the police are there to stop it or not. Honestly, this is happening every single day, and we don't want to be that individual. So even though we can't prevent the situation, you can be prepared and ready if a situation like this were to happen. But that is all I have today for Storytime Sunday. I know it was kind of a little bit heavier. I am grateful my sister and I were never kidnapped at the end of the day, but it's just a situation that shows that this can happen and could happen at any age. So that is all I have. I do have some updates coming soon about more story times and how you guys can all be involved if you want to. So stay tuned for that. I will have updates soon. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos.